What if all that frustration teachers are feeling right now, what if it isn't a sign that they're failing? What if it's actually a signal that education itself is going through this massive, massive change? We're going to dive into that very idea. And it all starts with one teacher's really honest struggle in this new age of AI. It's a story that might just point us to a totally new way of thinking about teaching. So our whole story kicks off with this incredibly raw and honest quote from a teacher who is just at the end of her rope. I am feeling so much frustration. And you can just feel that, right? This isn't just some problem at work, it's a deep personal crisis. And I'm willing to bet that feeling is something so many teachers out there can relate to, especially right now. Okay, so where is all this frustration coming from? Let's get into the details and really unpack the dilemma that got her to this point, to where she's even questioning her own skills. So picture this. She's teaching Korean to students in Thailand, and she is dedicated. Her students, they're working their tails off. I mean, everyone is putting in the effort. But despite all that hard work, she just feels this growing sense that it's not enough, that she's not enough, like something at the very core of what she's doing is just broken. And here's where it gets really tough. I mean, look at the pressure she's under. First, there's a huge, high-stakes university entrance exam hanging over everyone's heads. Then, you've got students with all sorts of different attitudes about learning, and on top of that, there are these really deep cultural and communication gaps. But here's the kicker, the really important part. She takes all of this pressure, all of these external problems, and she turns them inward. She decides the problem isn't the system, it's her. It's her own lack of skill. But what if she's wrong? What if her skills aren't the problem at all? This is where our whole perspective is about to flip. The big idea here is that her frustration isn't a personal failure, not even close. It's actually a symptom of something so much bigger, a massive, system-wide shift. It's really the end of an era for education. And this right here is the central claim, the one that changes everything. The era of teaching knowledge is over. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That's a huge statement. It's basically saying the entire foundation of teaching as we've always known it has just crumbled. The old rulebook, it's gone. So if you look at it this way, that frustration she's feeling, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a really important signal. It's like an alarm bell going off for the entire education system. It's telling all these great, dedicated teachers that the old methods just aren't cutting it anymore. They've hit a wall. So it's not a reason to give up. It's a call to change things. Okay, this brings us to a really key distinction. On one side, you have what's called knowledge. Think of this as facts, information, data, all the stuff that, let's be honest, AI is getting incredibly good at handling. But then, on the other side, you have education. This is different. This is about teaching people how to live, how to grow as a person. It's about human guidance. And that, well, that's where the future is heading. I mean, think about it. Pretty much all of humanity's factual knowledge is right there, at our fingertips, just a quick search away. That completely changes the game. It means a teacher's job can't just be to stand up there and dispense information anymore. Why would it be? The what of learning, it's basically free and instant for everyone now. And this leads to a pretty sharp critique of how things work right now. The idea is that most students aren't really going to university for knowledge. They're going to get specs, the paper qualifications, the degrees, the credentials they need to land a good job. The whole system is set up to reward the certificate more than the actual skill. And that's a huge part of the problem we're facing. All right, so if the era of just teaching knowledge is over, what takes its place? What's next? Let's talk about the solution. Let's see what this new model of true education actually looks like. So this is basically the new job description for a teacher in this new era. It's not about making students memorize facts and figures anymore. It's about teaching them how to navigate life itself, how to engage with other cultures, and how to understand what really makes a society thrive. I mean, it's a much deeper, more human-focused mission, right? To put it simply, the whole focus shifts. It's not about what a student knows anymore, but about who they are. We're moving away from just transferring information into their heads and toward developing them as a whole person. Okay, that all sounds great, right? But how does a teacher actually do that in a real classroom? Let's get practical now and talk about what it means to go from being the all-knowing expert to being a guide. And here's the core advice. And honestly, it goes against every instinct a teacher probably has. When students are struggling, your first thought is to teach harder, right? To explain it better. But the advice here is to do the opposite. to completely let go of that. Stop trying to teach and start trying to play. So here's the new method broken down into 4 steps. First, just stop trying to be the fountain of all knowledge. Let that pressure go. Second, start playing together. Think of it more like exploring a topic together instead of giving a lecture. Third, use AI as a tool, as an assistant, not just for the students, but for you too. And finally, the 4th step, just be an honest guide. Be someone who's not afraid to learn right there with your students. And that last part, being honest, is absolutely key. Because saying, you know what, I don't know the answer to that either, let's find out together, is so powerful. It builds trust, it drops the whole act of being the perfect expert, and it turns the classroom into a real team, where everyone is on a journey of discovery. Now, let's zoom out for a minute, because this idea of a teacher becoming a guide, it's not just a neat little classroom strategy. It actually has huge, huge implications for the future of an entire country and its role on the world stage. The big vision here is that South Korea is actually in a perfect position to lead this new movement. The idea is for the country to become a global destination, not for its tech, but for this new kind of human-centered education. And guess who the pioneers of this new future are? It's the teachers who are feeling that frustration right now. They're on the front lines of this change. And get this, there's even a deadline on the calendar, the year 2030. That year is being flagged as a major turning point. So yeah, that adds a real sense of urgency to this whole conversation. The work has to start now. So why 2030? Well, the prediction is that starting around then, a massive wave of international students is going to show up. And they won't be coming for the kind of knowledge they can just get from an AI. Nope, they'll be coming for real education, for that wisdom on how to live, the kind of thing you can only learn from another human being, from a guide. Which brings us to the final big question. In a world where AI can answer any question, teach any fact, grade any paper, what is a teacher's real job? It really forces all of us to rethink everything. And maybe, just maybe, a teacher's true purpose isn't to be the smartest person in the room anymore, but to be the most human.